stress. Stress is when stress is what happens when there's a greater demand on an organism than there's energy available to meet that demand at that time. For instance, if I'm allowed to run up some hills and I have basically no blood sugar and I have no glucose in my muscles, I will go into a stress state really fast because there's no energy available at that time for my exercise, and that will put my body in stress, and that stress will catabolize various tissues in my body, like mainly proteins from muscles and organs, maybe skins and such, well, soft tissues, and also fats. And that's the basic idea of what stress is. Stress is when there's not enough energy available at that time, and your body will start to use tissues to feed energy requirements. But this is at the most basic levels, because you can get stressed not just by overworking the demand of energy. You can get stressed even by poisoning your metabolism. If you in some way make it really hard for your body to metabolize energy at some tiny part of this whole chain of reactions that fuels your body. If I just take away one little step, and your body won't be able to process the energy appropriately, and that will lead to a lot of stress. And that's basically how several poisons, not all poisons, but a lot of poisons work, by interrupting the production of energy in an organism. Many toxins, for instance, inhibit transport of oxygen inside the cells. So several toxins simply suffocates an organism at the cellular level, so it can be really fast, because it will just go like that when the toxins have dissolved and ended up in many cells. And this is where it gets tricky, because as I said before, your body will start to use tissues for energy, and the problem with that is that this adaptation, if we talk about evolution and such, it looks like this was never needed to be really efficient, this starvation mode, because it by the looks of it's simply a mechanism for coping with very short-term stressors, short-term lacks of food, or short terms of very strenuous activity. Like mental activities will require a lot of specific nutrients, like specific vitamins and glucose and maybe other sugars, or if you can get them, ketones. And the problem with metabolizing all that work is if you don't get them, you will starve. And now we get to metabolism, because you guys might be familiar with that. The fact that some people can eat the same amount of calories and the same amount of carbs, fats, and proteins, and do the same activities, yet one person gets really fat and one gets really slim. There are other reasons for these things than the things I'm about to talk about. That there are genetic components, but I will just talk about biochemical, or what we in this case would refer to as bioenergetics. It means that, for instance, if say I have been really stressed, and several of the chemicals associated with stress metabolism will slow the body's ability to use energy properly. And this is the case when the stress has gone on too far for a too long a time, and it will lower the basic metabolic rate, and that way you can get fatter on fewer calories. Yes. So and the bad thing about having a low metabolism is that if your body is inefficient in using energy in a very efficient way, your body will skip doing a lot of things properly. You will get really nasty, bad hormone levels, because it's like your body thinks, well, that's a luxury. Why would I ever invest in things like progesterone and testosterone at this moment? I'm starving. It doesn't make sense. And another problem with these things is that even if you get enough calories and enough nutrients, maybe you lack just a tiny little nutrient that's really important for making the whole metabolic, I suppose you can call it cascade or something, cycles connecting to each other, but it's really problematic that metabolism can basically be shattered by having one deficiency and having a specific stressor that has gone on for too long. So to wrap it up, then there's demand for calories, and there's the efficiency at which an individual can use those calories, and to be able to use those calories in the best way possible, that person will have to have very low levels of chronic stress, and will have to be properly nourished. And just a lack of calories, or a lack of one specific or several nutrients will really fuck up. individual's metabolic rate. And if you fuck up the metabolic rate, you will basically have the hormone levels and the health levels of a sick person or and very old person. And well, at least I think that's bad. Unless you're old and you think there's nothing you can do about it, well, then I won't impose my thoughts on that. Do as you like. Yes, so that's the basics. You can starve and you can thrive.